إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. Quran is warning Muslims that if they try to convince disbelievers of the truth of Islam, they may not succeed. Because God put a seal on our hearts and minds. خَتَمَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبِهِمْ. And there is a veil on our eyes. غِشَاوَة. Often believers shame atheists for being too stubborn, too close-minded. They would tell me that I would never believe, no matter what. And that's true, I agree with that. I will not become religious, no matter what miracles are happening around me. Because I can interpret all unusual events based on my present atheistic worldview. We construct a model of the world, which is like a cupboard with shelves. And we put all observed events onto a certain shelf to explain it. If there is no God in my model of the world, I will not put any unusual event onto the shelf God did it. I will put it onto some naturalistic shelf, like evolution did it or some magician did it. So if I stumble across a penguin in my backyard, which is unusual, I will not consider it a sign from God. I would consider it a prank, or I would think that it ran away from a zoo. But if a believer stumbles across a camel in the Arabian desert, he may consider it a sign from God. It's not that unusual for me, but they are constantly looking for such signs everywhere. So often in religious debates we quibble about unimportant stuff like proving a miracle, but it doesn't matter. A consistent atheist will not start believing even if Jesus truly rose from the dead, even if Quran truly talks about the Big Bang. My problem with Abrahamic religions is that they rely on the idea of a package. We need to be impressed by some argument or miracle inside the package of a religion, and we need to accept it fully, the package deal. But for me, this package doesn't exist. I need to evaluate every single claim of a religion separately. So if I'm asked what would convince me of a religion, it's an incorrect question for me. I will ask them back, which claim of your religion exactly? The existence of the afterlife, for example, heaven and hell. This is one important claim. I need the same standard of proof as for the existence of Australia. I have never been to Australia, but I believe it exists because it's part of geography, which is recognized as a valid science by everybody. So there should be a way of exchanging information with the afterlife. If it's impossible to peek into the afterlife and nobody can return from there, that's it. It's designed in the way that it's impossible to prove. I need to take it at face value. The existence of God, another big claim. I think the concept of God is ill-defined. Nobody really knows what it means. Some Muslims, for example, don't believe that God has a mind. They think that when Quran talks about emotions and feelings of God, it is just a metaphor, similar to when Quran talks about body parts of God, like his hands. It is not literary. But some other Muslims say that yes, they believe that God has real feelings, that he has a mind, similar to Christianity, in which God has a personality. So what is it? The first step to believing in God would be creating the concept of God. What should I believe in exactly? The denial of the concept of God is called agnosticism, not agnosticism. An agnostic understands what God means and he doesn't know whether he exists or not. But an agnostic doesn't even understand what God means. Because God is unlimited, but it also means that it's undefined. Definition means putting an end to a thing, finis in Latin. So I can say, for example, that this is a bench and this is not a bench anymore. It ends here. So I put an end to my bench, I defined it. If God is unlimited, it means that it doesn't mean anything special. Maybe we shouldn't even use this word in our speech. The omniscience of God. He is supposed to be all-knowing. Nothing can prove it to me, and I think nothing can prove it to God either. If I am a mind which thinks that I know everything, there are two possibilities. Either I am God, who truly knows everything, or I am an inmate in a psychiatric ward, in a straitjacket, with the delusion of grandeur. The second possibility is more probable, and there is no way for me to distinguish between them internally. The claim that we should worship God is a moral claim. It doesn't have connections to facts at all, according to academic philosophy. There is no proof that something is worthy of worship. What does it mean, worthy? Some atheists say that they wouldn't worship God even if he existed. I think it's foolish to go to hell for the sake of your moral integrity, but they are making a valid point. The fact that God created this whole world doesn't mean that we are obliged to worship him. Maybe we should demand reparations instead. So we rely on the trust in the author of a holy book. We should be impressed by some miracle or argument within the holy book, and we should develop a trust in the expertise and honesty of the author of this book, and then we should accept all claims from that book by extension. The problem for me is that we don't know how much trust is enough, because there is no comparison between different gods. He is only one. So which claim of his I can trust? Like, if I tell you, for example, that I've seen a crow on a tree, you will probably believe me, because normally when people say that they see a crow, they truly see it. But if I tell you that I've seen a unicorn, you will not believe me, because usually people who talk about mythical creatures are making it up. With God, there is no normally and usually. There is only one such an entity. We cannot evaluate his claims. Like, I cannot say, for example, normally if a God says that he created a paradise, he truly did it. You can trust him. There are many paradises from many gods, but if this God tells you that you will go to his paradise, most probably he is lying just to make you worship him. I cannot reason like that, because there is only one God, so it's all or nothing. And here we come to the most problematic idea for me, the absoluteness of God. He is supposed to be all knowledgeable and all good. He cannot lie or be mistaken by his very nature. I think we cannot learn that something is absolute. No matter how wonderful the miracles and eloquence of your holy book are, we examine them with our limited eyes and ears, and we are never justified to conclude something unlimited and absolute from it. For example, if I impress somebody by showing to them how I can separate my thumb from my hand, I can make additional claims related to it. I can say, for example, it's because I am reptiloid. And the observer will think, makes sense. Lizards can separate their tails from their bodies. This man can separate his thumb from his hand. So maybe he is reptiloid. Or I can make another claim. I can say it's because I am a Terminator from liquid metal, and I can shape-shift into any form. And the observer will think, no, something is suspicious here. We know that Terminator is just a movie. There must be some other explanation how he is doing it. He's probably lying. But if I tell him that I can separate my thumb from my hand because I can control all the matter, because I have created all matter and this whole universe, that would be too big of a stretch. The observer will think, no, something is fishy here. That's cool what you are doing, it's impressive, but you are not the creator of the universe, no way. Maybe you're a reptiloid though. So because we examine all such unusual events with our limited perception, there is no difference between all the wonders and miracles of a holy book pointing at the absolute God, or me separating my thumb from my hand, pointing at the same absolute God. In both cases, we are making an infinite stretch from something tangible, observable, up to something unlimited and absolute. And we are never justified to make this stretch. So religious apologists start from both ends. They prove the existence of the philosophical abstract God by using logical arguments. And they are pulling a thread from that God downwards. And then they are pulling a similar thread from their holy book upwards. And these two threads should connect. And they will tell you, you see, there is a clear connection from our holy book up to the unlimited God. For me, this connection will never be clear, because it has an infinite length. And you are going to pull this thread forever. So I think we should focus on something that we are certain of. No matter how wonderful your religion is and how strongly you believe in the afterlife, you must give some value to this life as well, at least to do good deeds. Because in paradise, our place is fixed forever. There is no career growth in paradise. The only place to receive good grades in this test is this life. And for me, as an atheist, this is the only place to live. And I want to make it as similar to paradise as possible, at least in its eternity.